We got a really cool guest kind of lined up for today. As you guys know, the NFT land, the whole airdrop city. First, we had SOS, and then more recently, we had the gas drop. And I guess it wasn't really a drop because you had to claim it, but it was really to everyone that had significant purchases or use cases of the Ethereum network. And excited to have Bobby on today from the Gas DAO team. And if you guys have any questions as we're going through this again, please feel free to ask them. But we're going to call them up right now and learn just a little bit about what's going on with the Gas DAO. And excited to learn because it's something that's different, right? We focus on NFTs so much here that it's it's something new. Bobby, what's up, boss? How are you doing?
Good, man. How are you? Can you hear me?
Yeah, you're good. You're good. I recognize the voice from the Twitter space. Have you been doing like a billion of these different shows so far? Or you only had one or two?
No, I've had a couple of impromptu spaces that I've jumped in on and then went on Cal's space yesterday. But this is my first Twitch stream that I've been on, and then we're gonna have our first official town hall tonight or today 5 p.m. Eastern.
Okay, well, love to see it. Guys, if you want to check out Bobby here on Twitter, it's Bobby Axelrod, but otherwise it's Sayed Meister. Is that like a gamer reference, or am I just totally botching that?
No, it's actually a reference to I created my Twitter around the same time I created my Xbox username, but it's got some links to my actual docs name. So I'm like pseudo docs, but you could probably piece together where the Twitter's coming from. It's got some connection to my last name.
Okay, right on. Also, Yuns and Amtali, guys, thanks so much for subscribing again. So I guess we can start with learning a little bit about the Gas DAO and then learning a little bit about yourself. And so you guys posted the tweet here on the 28th saying there are over 143 million unique addresses that have made a transaction on the Ethereum network. Gas DAO was created to be a voice and the heartbeat of the most active 643,000 users within that 143 million to bridge together communities spanning across DeFi, dApps, and NFTs. So how come you guys decided to create this in the first place? And why do you think that there's kind of a need for it?
Yeah, so, the idea that we've had for quite some time, me and a couple other members on the core team that will be making an appearance in the town hall tonight, the idea that we've had for some time is to create this sort of super DAO. And what that means is creating a community through the form of a DAO comprising of, like you said, the most active members on the Ethereum network so that our, voices, needs as customers of this network could be heard in an effective way. What that practically means is that we've got this narrative that we're all, share this experience of having spent a bunch of money on gas fees. That's one bad UX experience on Ethereum, I would say, that we all share together across these various communities. And we created the Gas DAO as a way of both through trying to integrate into the actual Ethereum process of developing the network, and also through funding development grants to reduce gas usage, to try to make our kind of wants and needs as users of this network heard in a more effective way. So that's kind of this idea that we've had. And the reason that we launched so fast and launched quickly is, I've always been thinking, like, how am I going to get this sort of super DAO off the ground? Like, for it to be truly successful, and the thing that we've really been focusing on over the last, 36 hours since we launched, is to get as many people, get as many holders as possible, because that's really how something like this is going to, generate social value and generate value to the gas token holders. If the voice that's coming out of the DAO is comprising of all of the active users. And I looked at SOS and saw what they did and thought, aha, airdropping and creating a formula that kind of in this, fair and free way distributes this governance token to all the active users, that's the way to do it. And I had a feeling that probably some other people were thinking the same thing. So we just got to work as about 48 hours after SOS launched, we just got to work kind of building this all out, building the website, the Web3 integration, the governance contracts. And And yeah, so we're here. We're here now, 30 hours later.
Hell yeah. All right. So with that said, I want to kind of jump back to learn about a little bit about you and the team and how kind of like all that formed, and then kind of learn a bit more about the DAO. So for you, what's your kind of like, I guess experience, whether it be, school, and I know that one of the big things is that you're a Berkeley grad, but kind of like beyond that, leading into NFTs, what's been your experience with that or through crypto, and kind of, I guess, your upbringing in the space to where you were able to meet the rest of your team, and if you're able to talk about the rest of the team as well.
Sure. So I've actually been sitting on the sidelines in crypto. I'm home for the New Year's right now. I'm sitting in my childhood bedroom. This is where it all started in the summer of 2010. A couple of friends that I'd met online playing World of Warcraft shared the Satoshi Nakamoto's white paper on Bitcoin, which is like what the founding document for Bitcoin was. And this idea of internet money kind of just spoke to me. So I went out and bought a couple of Bitcoin on the first exchange, which is called Mount Go, and actually was using my gaming computer at the time to mine Bitcoin in that summer. And back then, like one computer with just like one little graphics card, I was mining about 0.25 Bitcoin a week, which was worth about $10. So I've been around for quite some time, just kind of observing, just being like a passive holder. And then over the past summer, I got really involved with NFTs because they just spoke to me. And I joined Pixel Vault, which is my kind of PFP, the meta hero. And yeah, that's really how I got involved in the crypto space. And then my personal background is that I'm actually in traditional finance, and I work at a hedge fund. That's my day job. I don't know how much longer it will be my day job, given given the success of this.
We went through like a phase where everybody said they were quitting their jobs for like NFTs and crypto, and then I feel like that kind of like slowly went away, and now it feels like it's starting to ramp back up again. So it's cool to hear.
Yeah, and then Claude Shannon, who's the main dev on the project, he's got a PhD in computer science. Just met him in a Discord chat. Vibed pretty heavily with him. He's just one of the best Solidity devs that I've met in my entire life. He's a bit more anon than I'm willing to be, so I can't go into too much detail about his background. But people have reviewed the contract that we've written and can see it's pretty clean, it's pretty good, and so I'm quite confident going forward that we'll be able to move real fast, which is our goal, is just to keep moving at this kind of lightning breakneck speed that we've been moving at already. And then Terrence, another Anon guy who Claude brought along, and he was our front end and web dev guru. I don't to be honest, I haven't met him in person yet, so I don't know a whole lot about his background, but I can see that he got that whole website off the ground, which at peak was like handling just an absurd amount of traffic on the night that we launched, like 100 claims a second over a few seconds at a certain point. The website itself never crashed. We had some issues with Coinbase wallet and other wallets outside of MetaMask at the beginning, but the actual website itself has just been flawlessly executed. So we got three core, hyper competent individuals who are, really committed to this project. I'm just excited to see what the three of us as core contributors and a few other people that we hope to bring along and have been talking to. And then I got to thank, we have about 20 mods in the Discord right now, and those folks are doing God's work right now, and would love to get them more involved too if they're down for it. It's really a DAO for the community, and just excited to see what's going to come out of the community as well. Seeing, there's already been 5 different governance proposals on our snapshot page that haven't come from the core team, and that's really how I envision this going and working in the future. Is that if you get a couple 100,000 active Ethereum users in there, most of like the great ideas, most of the proposals are going to come from them and not from us as we move forward with this.
Well, yeah, because that was something that I wanted to ask about. Because obviously, you guys have this idea, you drop it, and I mean, theoretically, people could look at that and say, like I'm not even going to claim it, type deal. But now, you were kind of like the talk of Twitter for the entirety of 24 hours, which has got to be a pretty cool experience. But I mean, you're saying that you had 20 mods and you have the team for expanding. Is that something that you guys had in the back of your mind before you launched, as soon as it happened? And then for like those 20 mods, how did they end up becoming mods?
Uh, we knew that we needed to pick like the first thing we knew we had to do was to get people to manage the Discord. Just living through it the first couple of hours of trying to do it myself, I was like, holy shit, this is this was a lot more than I bargained for. Because I never, I thought this is a great idea. And the vision that we have is something that's going to attract a lot of people. But I was thinking it was going to take, a few weeks to get this off the ground. And that's what I was really kind of banking on in my head was we would go grind on this for, at least 2 weeks nonstop just to get it off the ground. And then the kind of the attractiveness of the idea, the meme value of gas itself would bring everyone on board. And it's like within the first hour, we had like 5,000 people claim, and there were just people running rampant in the Discord. And most of the mods, almost all of them, except for Safe 2, are people who are just active in the community and claim tokens and reached out to us and said they wanted to help out, which is one of the most attractive things in Web3 and being decentralized is that people, when they have ownership of these types of things, like they want to get involved themselves. We really didn't even, we just kind of made a post in the Discord that we were looking for some mods, and I had a flood of DMs in my inbox and picked the people that seemed like they were committed to the project as well, and they've just done a fantastic job, and I can't thank them enough.
Well, awesome. Huge shout out to the mods of the Gas DAO community. Appreciate the hard work on all this stuff. But that's cool and awesome insight on that. So I guess the next thing that I want to do, and again, like for anyone that's tuned in, guys, appreciate you checking in. Normally, we talk just kind of like about NFT stuff. We were back, buying Z horses on drops, minting BAYC, all that crazy stuff way back in the day. And, every day there's something new within the space. And of course, gas comes along and it's something we got to talk about. So with that, I kind of wanted to go like over the roadmap pretty basically here. So at the highest level, you guys say for goals, you want to become the largest, most diverse DAO on Ethereum, represent the views of the Ethereum network users to the core Ethereum developers and Ethereum Foundation, and then reduce gas spent on Ethereum. So when you say like represent the views of Ethereum network to the Ethereum developers, is this something where you're just hoping that they recognize what you guys are doing, or is it like how exactly is that going to play out?
Yeah. So without getting into making it too complicated, Ethereum is a network that we all use, and periodically, there are improvements that are made to the network, and in the next couple of months, we're going to get, ETH 2.0 as the, switching over from, mining base, which is, like actual computers are going and processing the transactions, to a staking based network where you'll stake Ethereum, and that's what's going to end up, validating the transactions. But without going into too much detail, there are improvements that are made, and there's a process called the Ethereum improvement process for making these types of proposals for improving the network. And right now, in that proposal process, there's no formal inclusion of getting a consensus or getting the opinion of the actual users of the network. It's based on like soft social kind of heat checks that aren't formal. And there's no real place for us to say, hey, we want this, or hey, we want that. You can like go and submit a proposal yourself, but there's no way for us as users of the network to actually vote on the proposals. And as we have these couple of big things on the Ethereum roadmap coming up, we're really just banking on the Ethereum Foundation, and they've done a great job of doing this so far. We're really banking on them to represent our views. And we thought, hey, as Ethereum users, we've spent close to $10 billion in gas, and we deserve a voice as customers of the network here. And that's really where we kind of fit in. And in terms of like things that we're actually doing, we've reached out to the Ethereum Foundation, let them know, this is our goal, our stated goal for being a DAO of the most active users. We'd like to work with you all to include our voice there. But this weekend and over the next week, Claude and I are actually going to draft a formal EIP to amend, or an Ethereum improvement proposal to amend the EIP process to include a Gas DAO vote in there before any Ethereum improvement proposals could be passed. So we're taking some soft routes and indirect routes and trying to communicate directly with the Ethereum Foundation and waiting for them to respond to us. And then we're taking a more direct route of actually submitting an EIP proposal on behalf of the Gas DAO community.
So when it comes to your, goal of reducing gas spent on Ethereum, how is that going to work? Like, is that something where, we've heard like, hey, ETH 2.0 is going to fix that, but from everything that I've heard, that's not necessarily the case with it. But like, how is Gas DAO going to be able to, I guess, assist with that aspect of things?
Yeah. So what are the proposals that we've already put up on the snapshot is to send a portion of our treasury from the DAO to Open Zeppelin. And for those of you who aren't familiar, Open Zeppelin is this group that has created a library of Solidity functions that are widely used because they're heavily audited and open source by the entire Ethereum community across DeFi and NFTs. Like every time you mint a contract or you mint an NFT, there's probably like an 85-90% chance that most of the functions that were used for you to mint that NFT were imported from the Open Zeppelin library. So we've put up the snapshot proposal to allocate a portion of the treasury to send to them to use that money to create Open Zeppelin low gas, which would be a new library of commonly used Open Zeppelin functions to be written in a way that increases gas efficiency. Now you might say that's pretty idealistic. That's not possible. But if you're really active in the NFT space, you'll see that there are contracts that projects have launched that are custom made that require a lot less gas. The Pixel Vault Planet Drop is a good example of that. Like the gas to claim that was like 0.0018 for me, for example, compared to like some mints I've had where it's like 0.03 ETH, which is a lot of money to mint. So those functions already exist out there, and they wouldn't require a whole lot of work for them to update a lot of those functions. So that's like one very practical thing that we're doing and trying to get off the ground right away. And then the other snapshot proposal that we made is to set up a multi-sig wallet with another allocation from the DAO treasury to basically identify other functions that are commonly used or other examples of opportunities where you could reduce gas usage and set up like developer bug bounties essentially, but for gas usage. So you could go in there and propose, hey, I'm using this function. Can I make a proposal to allocate some of this multi-sig wallet to anyone who can reduce the gas usage on there? And as we continue to attract lots of creators, lots of protocol developers, we're hoping people will use this developer bug bounty program to reduce the gas usage on their networks and on their protocols that they're building.
So in there, you talked about how you're wanting to like allocate some of the, Gas DAO tokens for, helping to pay for like some of those grants or, incentivizing per se. But I know for you guys that you made an announcement that you were going to burn the tokens that you collectively got as a team. So how does it work in terms of what's in it for you guys to, continue to start building? Is there any kind of like other allocation to it? Do I have that wrong and you're only burning like a portion of it? Can you just explain that a little bit?
Yep. So we allocated at the beginning 15% to the core contributors and the initial developers. We got a little bit of pushback from the community, mainly because about 20% of that allocation vested immediately. So what we agreed to do and have done over the past 12 hours and announced on our Twitter is burn that initial allocation. Unfortunately, we can't change the token lock as it's a smart contract that holds the rest of the vested tokens. But the remaining 12% will continue to vest over the next 6 months. And we've also pledged to not use those tokens to actually vote on any proposals that are on Snapshot or on chain on Tally.
Okay. Interesting. Very interesting. And then for the gas profile picture thing, I know I'm skipping over a little bit here, but for NFTs, hey, listen, we got to chat about it. So you guys are wanting to do something that I think like, the bull case for like NFTs and stuff is the fact that it is like a digital identity. And then when you're out on socials, you're able to represent it. When you see people, whether it's Gutter Cat Gang, Bored Ape, Cool Cat Doodle, whatever, it's like, hey, like I want to represent it. And I'm sure there's a lot of people across the entire space that's not even in NFTs, but they happen to use, ETH for DeFi that could potentially use a gas one for that. So are you guys thinking of doing one that's like a gas station, a person, different flames? Can we get any insights on that?
We're still talking to a few folks that have reached out. I know that like conceptually, what we want is both an NFT that people can use to create a sense of identity as being a member of the Gas DAO, and also possibly include benefits which we know are possible based on what you could do on the Ethereum network, such as staking for more gas tokens, or for increasing the amount of basically gas that your gas would count for when you vote on proposals. But we haven't really ironed that out yet. We've been more focused on just getting the core functionality working over the last 30 hours. I mean, it's crazy to just think that it's only been like 36 hours since we launched. But we really want conceptually for it to be something that's in an aesthetically pleasing way. Like your way of identifying that you're part of this movement, that you're part of the Gas DAO, and you're part of, what we hope to be the DAO on Ethereum. So
We want to be the DAO. I like it.
Yep. I can't give you any details on what it's going to look like because we haven't gotten there yet, but we're moving fast. So I would expect in like the next week to have an announcement on what that's actually going to look like, and hopefully have a couple of previews for you.
Awesome. Well, I can't wait to see what those look like. It's always intriguing what kind of art style and all that jazz you guys decide on. So one of the other things that I've seen that's talked about a lot on social media, at least, is the staking gas with rewards proportional to gas spent while staking. So build a staking contract for gas that gives gas to stakers proportional to how much gas they use while staking. So is this like a credit card kind of like rebate or whatever? Like when you use your MasterCard and you get like, 1 or 5% back of like old purchases or whatever. Is that essentially what this is?
Yeah, I mean, like we wanted to create, a staking mechanism. One, because people love staking their tokens, but two, we wanted something that like, stayed within the core ethos of what we're doing, which is to both reward but also be the voice for active users. So having something where it's like, oh, you stake it and you get a certain APY. Like this isn't a DeFi coin. This is a social governance token for a DAO. Like we didn't want to conflate this at all with anything DeFi related, but we wanted to introduce a staking mechanism. And actually, a member of the community, Dill Rhodes, he came up with he was like, well, why don't you continuously do the airdrop? And I was like, well, the token supply is maxed out, and that's not something that we would feel comfortable doing, like launching a Gas DAO token every 6 months. Like that's not what we want to do. But I then kind of had a eureka moment of, well, what if when you stake it, you just get basically a Gas DAO token reward proportional to your gas usage, so that it's like a rebate. And that's how the Gas DAO rebate idea came about. And I guess it is kind of like your credit card. We haven't really worked out the exact formula yet. That's what we're planning on doing tonight. But I'm hopeful that we can get the staking contract up by the end of the weekend.
So I'm kind of curious, and for the kind of the roadmap and everything that you guys have here, was this something that was all completely fleshed out ahead of time, or did any part of what we've talked about so far come from somebody that was from the community? Because I think your roadmap came out like a day or two after the launch happened, if I'm correct.
Yeah, it came out about 24 hours after. Like the concrete ideas that were in there, like a decent chunk of them have come from the community, such as like the developer developer gas multi-sig wallet idea that actually came out of a spaces I had or that I was on yesterday. Actually, Hunter Oral was and I were going back and forth, and that kind of came out of there. I just described how the gas rebate idea just came out of a conversation with another community member last night. But like the core kind of EIP Ethereum idea, that's been something that we've been cooking up and thinking about for really honestly for years as users of the network. Like Claude's been using Ethereum, been an active DeFi user for before DeFi summer last summer. So this is something that we've been thinking about. But the actual kind of ideas, which I like to say are like the cherry on top, the NFTs, the gas rebate, the the developer multi-sig wallet, those are all coming kind of out of the community, which is how these things should work. I think like that's really ideally how DAOs should function. You have your core mission statement, but everything else should be decentralized. And if people have ideas, they submit proposals, they talk to the devs, and if they're good enough, they'll get implemented.
So when you were talking before, you're talking about kind of like the heat check with like the Ethereum Foundation, yada, yada. But you guys are also having that with like the on-chain governance process here. So I'll just kind of read what it says here. So while snapshot polls are great for one-off polling of the community, ultimately the real governance happens with the on-chain governor and treasury. The steps to getting a proposal approved on-chain are a heat check. The first step in getting a proposal to be executed on-chain is to post a heat check on Snapshot. This proposal should be general, asking a question or proposing an action the DAO should take. If the heat check gains traction, one of our contributors can post it on your behalf. This is to gauge interest in your proposal. Eventually, we'll be releasing a disclosure-like form of governance-related discussion where you need to hold a small amount of gas tokens to make posts. And then there's the consensus check. So after the heat check passes, you can publish a consensus check on Snapshot. This should include the full details of the proposal, including rationale, execution, pros and cons, and the full on-chain proposal parameters. And then the on-chain check, after passing the consensus check, we're going 3 for 3 here. The proposal can be made on-chain in the coming days, and you can use Tally and Boardroom to delegate and cast a vote. So pardon my ignorance, but Tally and Boardroom, I'm guessing, are kind of like a DeFi or like Web3 website?
Yep. Yeah. So like the way Tally works is that it's sort of taking what Snapshot is doing, which are is what's happening off chain, and making it easier to do on chain votes. So like we have a a governance contract that you actually would go in and interact with and vote when a proposal is made to it. And what Tally does is it basically takes that whole on-chain interaction and puts it nicely in a web app, but it also lets you delegate to individuals in the community. So I'm sure you got an ENS airdrop. When you got the ENS airdrop, they actually asked you who you wanted to delegate to.
Yeah, I remember that.
And people were running for that. And Tally basically puts that whole process up there on a web app for you. And then the reason we have a kind of this three-step process, we got some inspiration from some of the DeFi protocols like Compound and Uniswap. This is how they run it. And we, wanted to create this kind of formal process that makes it easy at the beginning. So if you have this idea, you just put it up for a heat check. Then you have the kind of the second consensus check to, all right, let's take this idea. Let's actually see how it would work on chain, and put the formal rationale for why you want to do this, formalize it a bit, and then get everyone to really vote there, such that pretty much if something is going for an on-chain vote, it's already passed the consensus check from the community, and everyone knows exactly what it's going to look like, so that it minimizes the actual gas usage, such that if something passes the consensus check, it's pretty much guaranteed to pass when it goes to an on-chain vote.
Okay, so just to kind of like reiterate, to recap here for like the voting, just in case anybody's watching that has gas that's going to do this and has ideas, basically there is a form and you're able to submit a proposal, and theoretically the form could have like 100 to 500 submissions a day. Is that correct? For the heat check aspect?
Yeah, I mean, Snapshot is able to handle hundreds of submissions a day. There is a requirement that you have 100 million gas to make an actual formal proposal on Snapshot, which is where the kind of discourse forum that we're planning on building would come into play. Right now, we have a section on our Discord called DAO Proposals, where a few members of the community have already made submissions. And that's currently how we're handling ideas for folks that don't have 100 million gas and want to get ideas proposed. But in the future, we want to have a separate area outside of the Discord to make it a little bit easier and more focused on proposals, where there would be a place to connect your MetaMask to prove that you own gas tokens, and that you could post your ideas there. And if it gets enough attraction, like getting basically upvotes from people, that someone with 100 million gas or someone on the team that has gas tokens could then take that idea and put it in the heat check on Snapshot.
Okay, awesome. And have you guys, like, how quick do you think that some of the stuff is going to go through? Like, let's say that there's a heat check and then there's one proposal that everyone's like, hell frigging yeah, triple double banger, and they want it to happen and like kind of go through. How quick is that process? Like, is it something where you have to reach like a threshold, or it goes like right through every step, like for anything that has like X amount of votes?
Yeah, I mean, once you there's basically like a 1% quorum that's needed for the consensus check. So 1% of Gas DAO token holders would have to vote on that. And then I believe don't have the roadmap directly in front of me, but I believe there's a 2-day period for what the consensus check has to launch for, and then 1 week voting period for the actual on-chain vote. But theoretically, if you had everything ready to go, it would take about a week and a half to get something on chain. And make that improvement actually happen,
okay.
Which is what we're basically expecting for the Open Zeppelin and the developer grant, is that in a week and a half, those two things, if they pass, should be ready to go.
Bad. Okay, so scrolling on through here, and again, guys, we're just kind of going over the roadmap and getting questions here with Bobby. And if you guys are wanting to follow Bobby here on Twitter, if you're not, just go check the chat, and I got it linked right down there. So for the next one, voting on Ethereum improvement proposals, the Ethereum network evolves and improves through a process called Ethereum Improvement Proposals, or EIPs. EIPs are the primary way that developers and community members propose new features and discuss design decisions. From their inception, EIPs follow a transparent process until they are eventually implemented, which can be seen in EIP 1. Since almost every EIP directly affects Ethereum users, the moment they are deployed, the crucial missing piece in the EIP process is the voice of the community. Since Gas DAO is composed of the most active Ethereum users spanning the NFT, DeFi, and dApp communities, we believe that a Gas DAO snapshot vote should become one of the steps in the EIP process. In the coming weeks, Gas DAO will publish an EIP proposing a role for Gas DAO in the EIP process. I feel like I'm saying EIP a lot here.
Right.
Of course, we will run the EIP through a snapshot vote to make sure that the community agrees. When passed, it will allow Gas DAO to provide its official stance on Ethereum developments in the crucial period where Ethereum is transitioning to ETH 2.0. So I guess for you, like, I don't know if this is necessarily like a Gas DAO question, but what do you think is going to happen when ETH 2.0 comes out? Do you think that it's going to, relieve some of the gas issues? Do you think that it's going to be like a huge wave and we're going to see even more people be down with Ethereum? Because at least in the NFT community over the past few weeks and months, we've had people that, are saying, I'm fine with paying, higher gas fees because I really think that ETH is king and this is going to get fixed. Well, we have seen like a fair number of users say, hey, we're excited for stuff on Flow, and more particularly like Solana. So for you, what do you think is going to happen here with ETH 2.0?
Well, I think like the great thing about ETH 2.0 is that it's going to get rid of, the miners as we currently have them. And, what that means for a lot of people is that the energy usage of the network is just going to go way down. That's personally what I'm most excited for. The thing that I'm worried about is that people have this expectation that the gas fees themselves are going to go down, but the gas fees are really just a function of how many people are using the network and how much they want to use the network. That's basically when gas fees go up. That's why when you have like a super popular public mint, gas fees go up because everyone's just getting in a gas war, which is literally saying like, I want to be the next transaction in this block. I'm willing to pay more than the guy next to me, and the guy next to me is willing to pay more than me, and that's what makes the gas fees go up. So from like a structural perspective, like there isn't a whole lot in 2.0 that we know of publicly that should relieve the gas mechanisms. The sharding, which is like similar to L2s, like Arbitrum or a few other protocols like that, that has a potential to really lower gas, but we're a ways away from that. So That's one of the reasons why we set up the Gas DAO is like we want to have we want it extra clear that almost every user on Ethereum is not happy with the amount of gas that we pay on transactions, and we want to make that crystal clear, through these votes, and then hopefully, something can come out of the developer grant system where we could, slide something into 2.0. So we're waiting for sharding to get something to lower gas fees, and maybe it's because the gas fees are then going to be split amongst the stakers and no longer miners who have all the upkeep costs that the cost of gas per transaction could actually go down because the overhead is lower. But that's really what we'd be banking on from what we know so far. So we still got some time until we get like the ultimate relief from sharding or whatever Vitalik has planned. But I'm not too bullish to answer your question on 2.0 reducing gas usage.
Right, for sure. Yeah, I think that's definitely something that will kind of be seen, and then it's going to come out, and then I feel like it's going to cause even more Twitter drama. And I mean, for you guys in Gas DAO, like, I don't know if we'll call it like drama per se, because you guys were, the talk of the town on Twitter for, that 24-hour period where literally everyone was posting about it. But I mean, you guys have seen kind of the price fluctuate up and down pretty violently here. I guess like personally or as a team, have you guys kind of like talked about that? Are you like, I guess, what's your thoughts on the price action on it? Do you not really care and you're focusing kind of like on building and flushing things out? Do you care about what the price is?
To be honest, I'd be lying and saying if I didn't look at the price every once in a while. Like,
no, for sure. Trust me. I was tweeting saying, "Yo, guys, can we get screenshots? I'm on my phone. I don't like switching through Twitter and all this kind of stuff. Do the $ gas and post some screenshots so we can keep up to date with it." So yeah, no, I'm just kind of curious.
No, so I'd be lying if I wasn't looking at the price. But the thing that that we as a team have been telling each other is like, even if the thing fell 80% from here, like that's still way better than anything that we could have expected before launching this. I think the initial pump was it just didn't make any sense even to me as a dev. Like, barely any of the tokens had been claimed. It was like 0.6% of the supply on the beginning of the chart, and people were still buying. And I was telling my friends, like, please, like, you shouldn't buy this. Like there's no liquidity. It hasn't been claimed yet. People still they're not buying this because they, see the vision that we have as a team. They're buying this because there's FOMO and you're going to get smoked. So us, like, we're more focused on getting the number of claimers up, the holders up. Like, that's the most important goal, is building something that people want to be in. Because we think the value is ultimately going to come from this being the largest DAO on Ethereum and actually, being the voice of us as customers of the network. Like, that's where the true value is in this. If we're integrated into the Ethereum Foundation and their improvement process as like the voice of the users of the network, that's where the value is going to come from. So to really do that, we have to make it both attractive for people to hold Gas DAO tokens and really build this community that people want to be a part of. So that's really what I've been focused on, not as much on the short-term price movements, but actually growing the community. But like I said, I'd be lying if I didn't look at the chart every once in a while. It's just fun to for sure. Yo,
Sass, appreciate the comment on the spectacles here. But Doc Polyester in the chat here is saying ETH gas fee is one of my biggest loss driver when it's about NFTs. Since only high risk investments make sense to compensate for it, and I agree with that. But then the next part of the roadmap here is funding gas optimization research. So as Gas DAO's first 2 on-chain government actions, we propose to make a donation to Open Zeppelin to reduce the gas usage of its contracts and set up a multi-sig fund for developer grants. And I mean, so when we're talking about gas optimization, you guys are talking, like for the entire network, right? Because recently, looking from an NFT perspective, and we'll say like Toy Boogers and Ozzy in the chat was highlighting the Imps project earlier, where it was, we have the minting, the gas fees optimized, but then doing like transactions, purchases, yada, yada. I know that Genie.xyz came out and you were able to kind of buy things in bulk for that. But like for this gas optimization, you guys are thinking like the entire network, right? Not just like minting of certain NFTs.
No, we're thinking both. So like,
oh, okay.
One of the things that like we really want to to press Open Zeppelin on, and if Open Zeppelin's not willing to, or is not able to do it through the developer grant system, is to, look at these projects that have had really efficient, either staking if it's from a DeFi perspective, or if it's minting from an NFT perspective, of like, what did those people do to reduce gas usage? And there are tons of examples, which we highlight in a blog post going over Open Zeppelin standardized contracts. There's tons of examples of people creating contracts with the same level of security that have been audited that basically reduce gas usage by 50%. Like I'll take the Pixel Vault Planet Drop as an example. Like claiming a planet was using like somewhere between like 75 to 80% less gas than other mints. And just making sure that like the library of functions that people are pulling from is constantly evolving to incorporate the best ideas in the community. Because people are going out there and innovating. It's just that other developers either aren't able to see it. It's not an Open Zeppelin, so it's not easy to get for them. And as they're building, they're not really thinking about gas. They're just thinking about getting this product out there in the fastest and best way possible. We just want to make sure that it's easier for them to pull contracts that are actually using gas in a more efficient way. So we're more focused on the micro with the gas optimization for now. In the future, we kind of leave that up to the Ethereum Foundation. But as we move forward and get a bigger voice, maybe we will be able to impact an EIP or something like that would actually reduce gas usage, at the macro level on the network.
So we got a question coming in from Munchie here, and it was about the way that the cap was for being claimed. And they said, what was the reason for capping the amount of gas that can be claimed? For example, Pranksy was capped significantly below the amount he should have been able to claim.
Yeah, so when we were looking at the distribution before, and that's mainly where I spent a good amount of my time as a contributor here, was thinking about the distribution and how can we get this done in as fair a way as possible. So what I started with is I looked at a data set which had all 143 million active Ethereum wallets, and then was playing around with, okay, if I used dollars spent on gas, what would our token distribution look like if it was just a linear proportion that said if you spent X dollars, you get the same amount of X gas? I looked at that and I was like, oh shit, well, the top 1% of people that have spent money on gas would get 73% of the tokens. That didn't really vibe with the whole ethos of what we're trying to build here. At the same time, if we let all 143 million wallets claim, then no one would get enough gas tokens for them to really have a voice. And when we're thinking about what this wanted to be, it wanted to be the voice of the active users on the network, the ones that are actually using it, so that one, it would be valuable for them. And then two, anything that comes out of the governance process would be valuable and transactable upon by the actual Ethereum Foundation and the other developers that are building things on the network. So what we did to try to make sure that the distribution would make sense so that it would be valuable to claim was come up with a cap at the bottom end. We wanted to do $1,000 spent on gas because that was going to create about 1 million wallets that would be eligible to claim. But we ended up going with 1,559 for one, the meme value, but two, to just shrink it up a little bit so that everyone could get a little bit more tokens. And plus, those at the bottom of the distribution just wouldn't get anything that would make it worth claiming. So it would just be for show. We wanted everyone we wanted it to make sense for everyone who could claim to claim after a reasonable amount of time, which it seems like, a lot of people at that bottom of the distribution did end up claiming. And then to kind of create this more fair distribution of that 653,000, we looked at the top 1%. We saw a decent chunk of those wallets were either multi-sigs associated with L2 protocols or exchange wallets. We didn't want to manually kind of take them out of the distribution because we wanted to be fair and transparent. But we also, didn't want them to end up with all of the tokens. So that was one rationale for the cap. And the other one was such that, all of these people like Pranksy, like Beanie, even like yourself, wouldn't end up just running this DAO as whales. We wanted everyone to have a voice. So that's how we kind of ended up with the cap. And the nice thing about the cap is it ended up with like a really nice fair distribution where the top 1% holds about 10% of the tokens that they were all able to claim. and the top 10% holds just about 50%. So it's not totally equally distributed like Uniswap did, because we had so many more eligible wallets. Don't quote me on this stat exactly, but I believe it is the largest free and fair distribution in the history of the Ethereum mainnet of a DAO. So we still wanted to incentivize people that had used the network more, but we wanted to do so in a way that still made sense for everyone that was eligible to claim. The way that we did that was by capping the top end of the distribution.
Yeah. Okay. So I think that's super interesting. I appreciate you thinking that I'm a mega whale too. By the way, definitely not the case, but it makes you feel good inside. But yeah, like I think that like it's cool that you guys thought about that ahead of time, where it wasn't something that was like reactionary of like, oh shit, you know what I mean? But with that said, like I guess from like top holders within the space, or like we'll say like influential people, how do you guys think you've been kind of perceived from everyone?
I think like people like I think people have been generally open to talking, like which I found refreshing. The thing that I find a little frustrating, which I don't really blame them for, was because we launched so quickly after OpenDAO. A lot of people just think this is a cash grab,
Right.
and it's
Right. Right.
just a copycat scheme. But it's really like the way the space should work is if someone has a good idea, you iterate on top of it. And we saw a really good idea that would help enable the true idea that we have, which is creating this kind of super DAO. Like we just saw this as a prime opportunity for being able to do it, and we moved fast because one thing that like we were scared of copycats, and we were scared of someone else doing something like this without the same vision. Like you saw it with the Mass DAO 2 days before. And those like that to me is like a pure cash grab, where there's a literal tax on selling and buying of the token that went directly to the devs. Um, it's just ridiculous. And we moved fast to just make sure that no one was going to try to claim this idea of rewarding gas usage and then using it in a way that wouldn't benefit the community, which is really what this project is anchored on. And it's actually funny that someone did launch a Gas DAO 10 minutes after we did, by chance.
Wait, no
And
shot. Wait, really?
yeah, yeah.
Ho-
I forget what the Twitter was, but like we launched, and 10 minutes later, this thing popped up on Twitter with like a copycat of the OpenDAO logo and a website and everything.
So did they
And I was like,
copy
oh
them, or did they
shit.
copy you guys, or did they just like randomly launch it because you guys did, or how?
Oh, they copied OpenDAO and MassDAO. Like it was clear that enough work had been, like we had only been live for 10 minutes. Like it was clear that like enough work had gone into it. Like they had a website and everything. I think it was like claim gasdow.xyz or something. I don't know.
Right.
But they put in enough work. So like I have this like intuition that like, man, we got to go fast. We got to go fast. Like we got to launch now, which is like why it seemed rushed. But I think it was prudent because looking through that, they didn't have the same goals and the same overarching vision of creating this sort of DAO. I don't want to make any assumptions on what their project was, but it seemed like we had a different ethos, and I'm just glad that because if we waited like another hour, who knows? They could have picked up the traction.
Yo,
And in some ways,
that's
we got lucky.
so crazy.
I know it's nuts. Like people don't realize that it happened because we moved so fast. And to be honest, it's not like we were paying for followers. Like I reached out to a couple of influencers that I had like personal connections with, and because we launched so late on Tuesday night, most of them were asleep. So like we had no paid influencers, we didn't buy any followers. Like it just happened organically so fast. I want to give a huge shout out to the Pixel Vault guys. That's really been my family and my home in this space for the last 6 months. I posted it there 15, 20 minutes before we launched, and honestly only put it in a couple of Telegram chats with 100 people in them tops. And that was it. That was the only place that we seeded the idea. The Pixel Vault guys just went on Twitter and did God's work, and then by the end of the night, we had 10,000 followers on Twitter and over 20,000 people claimed. So it was just pure organic viral growth, which I think hurt us in some ways because of the FOMO action in the the Uniswap and Sushi pools. But in many ways, like that's why I'm on this Twitch stream right now. If it wasn't for that, none of this would have been possible.
Yeah, it's kind of crazy how like the whole NFT Web3 crypto space is like from one day to the next, things move at an insanely rapid pace. So I guess kind of just jumping back to here, and guys, again, if you have any questions in the chat, please feel free. Also, Bobby, I don't want to take your time. I just realized it's like 50 minutes in. Do you still have time to chat or?
Yeah. I had boxed in an hour for this, so
Okay, cool.
I could probably go a little bit over.
Okay, I just want to make sure I don't want to take too much of your time. Okay, so
No, I'm having fun. So.
awesome. Gas NFT. So while we recognize the potential of the Gas DAO vision, we'd like to expand our digital footprint to spread our message as broadly as possible in order to create a strong sense of community, brand, and identity. We will release Genesis Gas NFT collection. Okay, so you're gonna do 10,000 of them. Okay, listen, Bobby. There's definitely more than 10,000 people that have this, so this is going to be spicy. Are you going to have it where they have to, like, the price is going to be kind of upper echelon? Is it going to be a stealth drop? Is like, what's kind of the inner talks here for how the NFT is going to work?
Yeah, the more feedback I'm getting from the community, the more that we've become flexible on the actual number.
So this could change. So this could change.
Yeah.
Okay.
So like the 10,000 could change. We could do, some tiering, like maybe have like, 10,000 of the PFPs and maybe, a smaller drop that people can still use to identify with the community, because, we want to make it as inclusive as possible, but we also want, have like some section of the NFTs, which is what the 10,000 was supposed to be, of like, you're not only like a Gas DAO holder, like, you're an evangelist that wants to identify with the Gas DAO, and you're willing to, put that as your PFP on socials and go out and tell the world that, you're part of this movement. At the same time, we've been getting some pushback, and I kind of agree with that, of like, everyone does 10K PFP drops. I mean, like, I've been super active in the NFT space. So like, I was through the 10K PFP, wave in August, and I have shit on it on Twitter, and I want to create some distance. So we're pretty fungible on the number. The thing that we do think is innovative is that you're gonna mint these NFTs with gas tokens, and those gas tokens are going to be sent to the treasury. So we wanted to integrate it into the gas system and create some use cases for the actual gas tokens, and make this not a cash grab to get ETH to us or ETH to the treasury. We want this to be a community that's built around the governance token itself, which I think is pretty cool. I haven't seen many projects use their actual token to purchase the NFTs, which I think is pretty cool.
So I guess the question, knowing that you're a Pixel Vault fan, right? And I'm saying this more because of that than anything else, but are you guys looking at it from a perspective of we want to figure out ways to burn the token supply, or do you kind of view it as some of the proposals that we're going to make are worth having, that extra allocation to be able to have those kind of votes and says?
Yes, we don't want to burn we burned our developer tokens just because, some people in the community had suggested that the burn would look better. Our treasury is not controlled by us. The treasury is controlled by the DAO from day one. We built, this wasn't like just like some regular ERC20 or a shitcoin. Like, there's a full, governor contract. There's a treasury, and the governor contract, controls the treasury through the DAO votes. So we don't control the treasury, but some people were still sketched out about that, and we're saying, if we sent it to the treasury, it would look like we were just sending it to ourselves. So we just wanted to, really annihilate any of the fears that people have of us, dumping on them, or just grabbing that 20% and running away. And we thought the best way to do that would be burning it. But the reason that we're not burning the gas tokens that we're planning on getting from the NFT mint, we haven't really finalized the numbers yet of how much it's going to cost to mint the NFT, and that's something we're still kind of iterating on. It's only been 36 hours, but we think there's going to be a lot of these types of proposals that are coming out, like the Open Zeppelin grant, like the developer grant system, that are going to require the use of Gas DAO tokens. So we just want to make sure that the treasury is as large as possible for the community.
Okay, so I want to switch it now to some questions from people here in the chat. So, guys, if you have any questions, again, we might skip over certain ones, but overall, we'll try to ask pretty much everything here because I only got Bobby for probably like 5 to 10-ish more minutes, maybe a bit longer. We'll see. But creativity, saying, why is it so important for Gas DAO to be part of the EIP process? I don't think people understand how crazy that would be.
Thank you for asking that question. Yeah, I don't think people understand that yet. Like, Ethereum has the potential to be, a $1 trillion plus network that we all use, and yet there is no formal way for us to say, hey, we like what's going on, or hey, we don't like what's going on, or hey, we want to see this, or hey, we don't. Like, yes, you could do what we're doing as a community and go and submit a formal EIP proposal, but that is a hell of a lot of work. Like I'm expecting that to be like mainly what I'm doing over the next week, and have Claude and Terrence do the staking and hopefully bring on someone on the team to do the NFT drop. But that's like mainly what I'm going to be doing, like balls to the wall for the next week. And it's complicated, and you need to get buy-in from the actual core developers. You need to communicate with the foundation to even get that off the ground. So it's hard work to really impact the network that you're in. And if we really want to be this decentralized web community, then there has to be a way for there to be decentralized pressure and feedback that is given to the actual creators of this decentralized network. And I think there's going to be a lot of value in that. Like, if we're able to be the first DAO whose voice is included in the actual Ethereum Foundation's process for improving the network, like, that is going to be an exclusive value proposition for the world's first super DAO that will really cement us in the rafters of history. I think in the evolution and the story of Web3 that I don't think people are fully appreciating yet. But as we get closer and release more details and hopefully are able to actually submit this EIP proposal in the the next week or so, I think enough big names in the space that actually do appreciate just how crazy and awesome that actually is will start to drum up the hype for it, because that, to me, you can't really put a dollar value on that. That means that every single user of Ethereum who's in Gas DAO will have representation essentially in the actual evolution of Ethereum, which, I'm not an ETH maxi per se, but I do think it is the most important, layer one blockchain in the world right now. And owning Gas DAO tokens will mean that you yourself have a voice in the actual evolution of the most important L1 in the world, which means that you yourself will help decide the future of Web3, which is what we have on our website, because we truly believe that if we're successful, that every Gas DAO member will be able to have their voice heard and influence the direction that we're moving on together. So yeah, thank you for that question, because I do think it is awesome and crazy.
I love that you threw in the word there, like ETH maxi, because I was sitting and I was like, for anyone that like really wants Ethereum to be good here, like this, to be able to be king and whatnot, like it is something that, like, if that does happen, or working to make sure that Ethereum is kind of the upper echelon of all the blockchains, which it already is, but like further solidify that aspect, then this could play a huge part in that. And then TSPG is asking, what are the biggest upcoming proposals and ideas Bobby can share? Where does he see Gas DAO in 6 months?
Yeah, so I think like the cool thing about our roadmap is that it's expansive, but I'm pretty confident that we can get most of it done in the next 2 months or so. And what I'm seeing in the vision of it is like, if we can get all these things off the ground, like if we can get a formal EIP proposed, if we can get in conversations with the Ethereum Foundation, if we can get this developer grant system running, if we can be in constant contact with Open Zeppelin and help them improve, their function library and create Open Zeppelin low gas, like that will give us the clout and the kind of cement our standing in the community as a real deal, and take the value that was bootstrapped from the meme and convert it to social and governance value on the network. And then from there, I think it's up to the community. And once you have that clout, once you have that standing, you could really do anything. Make proposals to improve Ethereum, make proposals to put pressure on other protocols. like I have my own kind of set of stuff that I would like to do after the roadmap is done in my idea book that, I'll probably share it as we continue to check more things off the roadmap. But I think it's really up to the Gas DAO token holders. I hate when people say it's like up to the community because it's one of the most used lines in the space, but it really is in this case because the value here is coming from the actual community as it continues to grow. And then, like in 6 months, if there are, 400,000 unique holders of Gas DAO, there's lots of people that want to get, involved in the space and don't really know how to do so. And with our easy governance process, if they have an idea, instead of launching it themselves, they might just make a proposal that says like, hey, I want to do this. I think it will benefit Ethereum users. I want to get some Gas DAO tokens allocated to help get me started, and submit a proposal to do that. Like if you're a developer, who wants to jump into the space and just haven't had the time and don't want to go through the VC process, like you might be able to just say, hey, I'm going to submit this proposal to allocate some Gas DAO tokens to get me started, and then if it passed the heat check and the consensus check, then the treasury would go out and send some Gas DAO tokens to your contract that you're setting up. And if everyone votes for that and thinks you have a good idea, then your idea would get intertwined with the Gas DAO community. So I think in 6 months there's a ton of potential if this actually gets off the ground and our roadmap is achieved. But I don't want to share any of my own ideas. One, because if our roadmap is achieved, it's going to be less and less about us and more about the community. So I don't want to steal any thunder away from anyone. But also because I think there's a lot in the roadmap already that's pretty innovative and new. And I don't want to just start over promising a bunch of stuff because in 2 months when it's all done and our holder count is going up, like maybe people won't even agree with my proposals and my own vision for what I'm seeing for the Gas DAO, because ultimately it is a DAO. It's about the users. Like I'm not like CEO of this DAO. I just helped set it up. And as it continues to grow, it should be less and less about us and more about the community.
Typically, as like, we'll call myself an interviewer here, I ask questions and sometimes I get like less than 1 minute answers. And for you, God, I love it. It's great. You just go into all the detail and we get all the good stuff. So this is fun and I love it. So Lost ETH is now asking, how did the conversation with the Ethereum Foundation go? Can we learn a little bit more about that?
Yeah, so we reached out to them and we introduced ourselves and said what our mission statement is. I think because it's the holiday season, we haven't heard back from them yet, but we've been pretty transparent about everything so far. So as soon as we hear back from them, we'll let you know. But I think the cool thing about this is like even if I know people that have worked with them and they're great people and I expect them to get back to us, but like even if they don't, like if we follow when we follow the steps of submitting a formal EIP, they'll have to respond to that if once we check off all the boxes on that. And I don't want to go into the technical details of EIP 1, but we know the steps that we have to take to get this off the ground. And by chance, if they're not willing to talk to us, which I doubt that would be the case, we'll still get the feedback that we need when we go through the formal process.
Okay. And still going through. Can Gas DAO go to Ascent? Hey, we'll see. Dodge maybe.
Well, we'll see, man. If it gets to Ascent, that will be a full gas refund for everyone for all the gas that they've spent on the network. So.
Yeah, hell yeah. So sorry, I don't know what this question means, but you might, so I'm going to ask it. Are you going to do an airdrop for people that spend a couple hundred under 1559? Okay. So I think they mean like the amount of gas that they've spent, right?
Yeah, I mean that's something that people in the community have talked about. They could make a proposal if we were, for example, to spread it out to. So like I did the math where if we did an airdrop, let's say to everyone that spent above $100 in gas, that would mean that about like I think it was about 30% of the treasury would go to those extra 2 million or so wallets. So it wouldn't make a ton of sense for those people to claim it where we are right now, but it's something people have talked about in the community, and maybe you'll see a heat check on it in the coming days, but it's not something that we have planned right now. We do have a couple of members in the community who actually weren't eligible and went out and bought gas on an LP. So you do have that option if you do want to get involved in the community and see yourself as an active member of Ethereum. But for now, we don't have any formal plans on that, and just stay tuned for updates and peep the Snapchat page to see if something like that actually ends up making it through.
So, Bobby, we can wrap things up here. I'm really appreciative of your time, but I want to kind of give you the stage here because I know there's a lot of people that are from the Gas DAO community here in the chat and saying, gas to the moon and all that kind of stuff. So, do you have any kind of like final words for people that are out there supporting you?
Yeah, I just want to say thank you so much to the community. Thank you so much to everyone who's claimed so far, who believes in the vision. There's a lot of degens out there who are spreading FUD and just want a quick flip, and just want to say, this is a community. This is a super DAO that we're building. It's going to take some time for the true value of the token to manifest itself. And I think that, if we're able to include ourselves in the formal Ethereum process, that, that's something special that you can, tell your kids, you can tell your grandkids that you're a part of. So, we're committed to building this out alongside with you, and we're going to do our best to get this off the ground to achieve the vision of being the super DAO. And you can count on us to work as hard as we possibly can, like we've already been doing over the past couple of days, and we'll continue to move at that breakneck pace. And just continue to hold, and good things will happen as we continue to iterate on the roadmap.
Bobby, I love it. Now, one last question here, super quick from TSPGs. Just curious about when you think the staking might come out.
Yeah, we're pretty bullish on, we'll talk more about it on the town hall, that, mainly from a contract perspective, we're pretty bullish that we could get something out rather quickly. And we've been playing around with some Solidity code to get that going, and we're mainly just on the actual math and mechanics behind what that rebate would look like, and making sure that if you stake Gas DAO and you get X gas or W gas, we haven't decided what the other token will be, that you'll still be able to vote on Snapshot, because the most important thing about holding a Gas DAO token as the community grows and grows is being able to vote on these proposals and being able to be in the DAO chat, in the Discord for holders. So we just want to make sure that you can maintain that functionality, and also make sure that we get the formula right, such that we still leave enough Gas DAO tokens in the treasury to achieve future community objectives and future proposals. But I think I would be shocked if we don't have that all up and running by the end of the weekend, which I think is crazy. I mean, you look at all these, not to shit on my own project at Pixel Vault, but it took months for them to get the staking off the ground. You look at SOS, and they're not planning on getting the staking done until January, and I'm pretty confident in Claude and Terrence's ability to get a nice UI and get the actual contract and get that done by the end of the weekend. But yeah, we'll see. We'll give more details on that in the town hall at 5 p.m.
Yo, love it. All right, guys, can we get some W's up here in the chat for Bobby Axelrod? That was crazy. I appreciate you coming on. I would love to have you again sometime soon. If you have any updates or anything you'd like to share, guys in the chat, if you're wanting to go follow Bobby on Twitter, that's it right there. But my man, thank you so much for taking the time today.
Dude, thank you so much for having me up here, man. It was a blast. I hope to be up here in the future.
Yeah,
you did a great job.
100%. Appreciate you. All right, we'll chat soon.
All right, thank you so much, man. Have a great day.
Yeah, you too. Peace. All right, yo, there we go. Yo, sheesh. Yo, sheesh. Not bad.